Sure. And did everybody get a chance to review the minutes? Any questions, comments?
Impeccable, as always.
Always, yes. So, do I hear move to accept?
I move.
I second.
And we have to do so Lindsay, do you accept? I accept.
Accept.
Okay, all right, so they are accepted. Housing survey. This is,
Yeah, so this is the draft for Islandsboro and for Off Islanders. And I just, what I thought based on, we talked a little bit, Kate, before we officially started. The first question could be something like, what appeals to you about living on Islandsboro?
Lizzie, do you have a digital version?
Oh, I didn't, I didn't think, do you want me to email you this and then you can email it?
If you email it to me, I can email it to Lindsay.
Okay.
Lindsay, do you have your computer there? Obviously, you're on something.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop right now.
All right, so we'll send you a copy of an electronic copy of the survey.
Okay.
Gonna do that right now.
Okay.
Which one do you want it at? Do you want it at your preschool or your Buckingham?
Either.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever's easier. Thank you.
Okay, one comment.
What is the, how do I get on the internet here?
Oh, it's
Just
the
public.
public, yeah. You don't need a password.
And I was inspired in part by this thing in the New York Times about North Haven. It seems to me you should use this not only as a survey, but as a marketing tool. And say, you know, the great things about
This was to try.
here, a vital community center,
Preschool.
and the preschool, and I mean, we could
So I can add to
Promote.
this and make it more
vote
tasty.
this as, you know, you probably don't even realize how wonderful it is to live here.
Oh, boy, do I ever.
Well, it shouldn't be apologetic, it should be, as I said, marketing.
Well, yeah, and that was an item that I was planning on covering, but you've already got it, so, yeah. I mean,
Well, I
think
think
it's
so. I was
something
trying
we
to fit
should-
both of them on island,
And
on
that's-
one sheet of
that's
paper,
right.
but there's no reason why the one for Off Islanders can't be 2 pages. And so I can do like, I can add to this. And then if you want, you know, send it, we meet again, or just send it and get your input.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I walk into the ICF. You know. ICS, I think, I wish I got to school here, it's so fabulous.
Yeah.
The view is just wonderful, the faculty is so. Absolutely into what they're doing, and it's just. The teacher-student ratio is wonderful and. It's, you know. Anyway.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
My thought.
I agree.
I did going back and just looking at the minutes, Tom did mention that he was sort of concerned about putting a lot of effort into a bunch of marketing. Only because we don't have housing to attract people to, but I like the idea of something that's sort of between those two, right? Of
Yeah.
like, you know, many of us feel, you know, it's a magical or a wonderful place to live, we've got these wonderful things about it, and to sort of, you know, almost like to counter the why don't you want to live here question at the bottom.
Yeah.
Exactly, that was what I began with.
Well, we talked about having, what have the barriers been?
Yeah,
So
no,
do
I
we-
really like having that question.
Yeah.
Okay, but at the end, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then I did add, I think it was UK just said, you know, asking people what their monthly housing costs now, and made them both for rentals and if you have a mortgage and taxes. And then I added to the family, I asked, are any of these children and what ages? So we'd also get an idea of who could, if they moved here, would have kids in the school.
Yeah, we also could think of, instead of the, do you think this cost is too high? We could also ask just an open-ended question of what do you think is affordable for housing?
But you know,
Yeah,
there again, you could just say, and we have a primarily charitable support group building affordable housing. And our efforts are to make it as attractive as possibly can be for, I mean, I'm not.
We don't know if we
Good,
can
right.
build again. I mean,
Well-
we can't really promise the,
Well, I have some thoughts about. that.
well, that's an item that we'll come to.
Okay.
okay,
But I think at the same time, instead of saying, do you think the cost is too high?
yeah,
It's put it more in the middle of the road. I mean,
yeah, no, I could change that.
Right, rather than put it on the defensive immediately.
Right,
Yeah, I like the idea of having the question being like, what range should we be aiming for?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Why? So do we even want to ask them the monthly costs?
yeah, that might,
And we would get some idea of,
yeah, I think if we do make it if we have an electronic version, I just wouldn't make that a required question. Some people might not feel comfortable answering.
no, I mean, this is all, it's all volunteer to do, so I don't think we have to
I
say.
think when you ask. You know, what would be attractive in terms of cost? You're.
You know,
If I was asking. I'd be
$10
asking, No.
$10 a month.
That's the other
But-
thing.
I think, like, what would be affordable to you? I feel like you're less. I mean, I'm sure we'll get some people who say something like low ball,
Yeah,
but.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I mean, as we found out with rental applications, people will answer the questions they want to answer and they won't answer the
That's
other
right.
ones. I mean, so you can put a question in, and they'll either answer it or they won't.
so I could add that question about affordable, also if they're willing to put it in, have that question with studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. So we can ask them, what,
Yeah,
okay,
I think it's unlikely that anybody is gonna wanna move to Islesboro because it's so compellingly cheap.
no,
no, well, this whole mid-coast region.
well. So I'll jump ahead because I did go to a housing meeting today and and it wasn't just unbridged islands. It was a lot of towns that belong to that group or out on peninsulas,
Mhm.
And they pretty much are all in kind of the same boat. That the cost of housing has gotten to a point where,
Yeah.
they are struggling like we are with affordable housing, so. No, you're not gonna choose to live here because the housing is cheap, that's for sure.
No,
But going back to Peter's point is there are lots of things that can sell the island and you don't have to hard sell it. You just have to,
right,
talk about what it is that will attract people. School is a great example. I mean, there are kids from the mainland who are coming here. Why? Because it's a great school. And if you look at why do people move?
yeah,
It's typically, employment. And it's school. I mean, that every time that I moved, and believe me, more times than I want to count. I always chose where to live based on where my kids could go to school.
Mm.
And I gave up a short commute. In order to have the kids in the right school, or the school at least that I thought was the right school. So.
Well, to that point, I wonder if we would add a question, so it's, if you've thought about living on Isles before, what are the reasons why? Like, what are the reasons why you've thought about living here, and then what are the reasons that you've decided, or that you've decided not to live here? And we could even make those both open-ended as opposed to
Mhm.
making suggestions about what the potential reasons might be. But it might be really great to hear in terms of what do people find attractive about the community and what do people
Mhm.
worry about?
I just think it should be positive, not negative. What did you not see that you wanted here, but what are the things that you found compellingly interesting? And one thing, Mike, I would just say is that the opportunities that graduating seniors have in the school are probably off the charts in terms of, you know, what happens
Where you can go.
in Manhattan private schools. I mean, we had kids going to Ivy League schools
Yeah,
and basically wherever they want to go, they're so desirable.
I mean, the school was certainly a big reason when we decided to move back.
Right.
100%. That's a big.
And the
big-
preschool was a big reason when we first decided to move here.
I have a couple questions, another question about the other side of it for Islanders. I added a question about, you know, how many rooms besides a kitchen, a bathroom, are in what you have now? The cost, if they're willing to say, and again, whether it's too high, I can change that too. Well, then I have, if you answered yes, you know, what cost would you consider reasonable and why? Just trying to get some more information from those living here. Is that okay?
I wasn't sure, I was a little bit confused about the framing as a small house survey on both sides, so I was wondering if you could explain the thinking there just a little bit more to me.
Well, it really comes, you know, from INP is that, we need to have, to make housing affordable, it can't be big. It does need to be small, and we need to rethink the idea of not building a new, much less getting the pre-built that doesn't fit on the ferry type thing. So the idea of smaller and just even talking and doing with all the rental, when talking to people who had applied, a lot of them would love to have had the offering of something smaller, less expensive. And also then hearing from people who have talked
Sure.
about older people who have houses that are too big, want to stay here, can live at home, but their house is too difficult, so they give smaller. And so that speaks, because I think, you know, if you have the money to have a bigger house here, you don't need the survey.
So,
So that's why.
yeah, so there was a very interesting article in the Bangor news on, what's today, 3 days ago. And it's basically the demographics of households.
Mm.
The number of people living in a house has declined by 30% over the last 2 decades.
Mm.
So there are fewer people living together today than there were. So this says, you know, overall, this is Maine as a whole. That a couple of decades ago, it was 2.5 people per household. It's 1.8 today. And the number of single individual
Mhm.
households has gone up dramatically. So knowing, you know, what the preference is,
Mhm.
because not everybody wants to live someplace where the only way you can afford it is with a roommate.
Mhm.
So, you know, I mean, if you remember the IAP discussion of do you build a 1 bedroom? And there were lots of people who were against it. Because, oh, well, I'm always gonna need an extra bedroom, et cetera. Well, this would imply that in today's day and age, that maybe that's not true.
Mhm. No, there two applicants who would have loved
Mhm.
a studio.
And what happened? We didn't have it.
No,
We don't have it, and neither one on
Yeah.
paper legally made enough money.
yeah,
But
They could if it was a really small thing for like
could you just
700.
educate me, because I've heard contrary conflicting reports. We had 2 3-bedroom
right,
units and then we had 4
one
multi,
duplex.
One
There's
duplex.
only one,
one duplex that is basically
two.
2 units.
Right,
Yeah,
So there were 4 units available,
right?
Mhm.
and how many responsive
Oh,
We
responding?
had 14.
14 or
14,
15.
well, actually it's 15. 2 never finished the application despite requests, so they
Yeah.
weren't eligible. So 13 more or less viable, 1 really wasn't. And so only 4
What the-
households or families got out of that.
So if we basically, what we built met the demand.
4 out of 13.
Yeah, so, you know, one of the things I think we discovered, which is an impediment to some folks, is it's the on the books versus
Yeah.
off the books earnings.
Yeah,
So if you look at an application and you say, okay, I need your tax return. So now you're getting, you know, an official filed return,
Right.
but the individual is already living someplace making an $800 a month rental or, you know, rental payment, which their income would indicate they couldn't afford.
Right.
So, you know, and how you get over that, I'm not sure.
well, there's 2 applicants I've talked to about this, who didn't get housing. And, you know, I'm comfortable enough with them, I can say that and say, you know, you need to have a good, you know, you need to have enough money. So, and then you talk to someone also.
Yeah, and I mean, and frankly, some of the people who were, you know, getting up there in age need
Yeah.
to make sure that they have at least some kind
I know.
of attributable income in order if they want social security. And, you know, you have to have those conversations with some of the folks because otherwise, I mean, I know,
So of the people who met the criteria for income, how many, or how many of those were turned down? I mean, how many?
Actually, the ones who were chosen, one person was turned down. One family was turned down, who could have, though the costs, we didn't know until after we'd selected all the renters, what exactly the rents would be, and we can't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Because it's fluctuated,
so there were probably 2, maybe 3 who had an income that could support the kind of,
And they got turned
and
down.
they got turned down. Then there were other criteria.
Right.
Filling the bedrooms was one, school age kids was.
So if we had another 3 houses to offer, we could have built.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, and some of them frankly would have been a chance, but that's part of
Mhm.
dealing in the
Right.
affordable housing arena.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't ask for guarantees on anything, but yeah, if there were, if the second duplex was built and ready, yeah, we probably.
Probably
There
would,
were
yeah.
two different families, if you would. that
And
could have gone
if
there.
we had been able to provide more smaller studio housing
Yes.
somewhere, we would have had a
So,
better.
so if we had what we've talked about before, if we had a little tiny house community, yes, we definitely
Yeah.
could have put some of the other folks in.
no
those, yes,
question.
without a doubt.
And there,
And as I said, there were people there who, you know, underneath it, I mean, when you talk to them and it's kind of an off the record conversation, you know, they had the money to do it,
yeah,
even though their official paperwork wouldn't necessarily. And those are the kinds of people, if you're dealing in a studio or in a tiny house, that you could take that chance on,
Right.
not leave yourself hanging too much.
Mhm.
You know, if you take a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, you know, that costs $500,000 just to put it up, you're not gonna take too much of a gamble on who you're gonna put it in.
yeah.
And
The other thing I want to say before we change from this, I think we should first do the survey of people living here. Do that first, only later do off island. And this is because of a lot of the pushback I heard. So a lot of people telling me about people on the island, oh, they're gonna give this to people who don't live here, and so I think in terms of just. There's nothing wrong with waiting a month or two to do the one for people who come here to work. First, do it for islanders to see what we have here, only then.
Know if anybody has any clear ideas of sort of when over the course of the winter we would get fewer responses from off-island folks than we might at other times during the winter.
So that, I mean, I've thought of that too, that's, I think, an important question. It's pretty busy, I mean, all last few years I had to go over every week through the winter. At least once a week, and there's a lot of people coming off the boat,
I would say anecdotally,
yeah.
the last 3 years. I didn't see a,
No,
a downturn.
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we skip the period sort of around the last few weeks of the year and the first couple weeks of next year and either do something before or after that.
Right. So I mean, I think we could do, if we could do the town one first, see what response we get, if we could get it out there quickly, I have no idea, but I'm happy to do whatever needs to be done to help get it out there. In terms of my skill level. For now,
Yeah, and if we're not gonna do the off island, then I'd say wait till after the first of the year.
yes, I agree. Yeah,
I mean, that would just be my input, so.
I've heard this, and I don't mean to be too outspoken as an ex officio member of this committee, but I have heard complaints that, there's a need for affordable housing from people on Islesboro. But if we're talking about how to expand the school, the facilities that we have here, presumably those people who are feel trapped by the lack of affordable housing
Yeah.
are not the people that are going to actually expand
well.
the labor force, the school population.
It depends, I think, because, I mean, I think to really expand and have the island stay really vibrant, we do need more people moving here. And not retirees, like me,
Exactly.
finally able to live where I really want to live after working life. But I think, I mean, there's a case to be made, and this maybe is not relevant, except that I had a few talks with people about how this is not how IIP has worked before. And sort of really, so no matter what on this island, people are gonna get upset and people are gonna get critical, and then some will be really happy. But that's just how human beings are, but there was a kind of shock that IIP wasn't working on the same model it had before, where the most need is the first one in line to get housing.
But I think that is part of the marketing, because I think
Yeah.
you're right on, because IAP. And so if you just take what's coming on the market, but not on the market, what's going to be occupied very soon, some of it is main housing money,
Mhm.
which has some very specific criteria as to who is eligible for what you can charge and what you can't charge. But two of those units, and it's the duplexes, are all built with private funds, which means you don't have the same kinds of restrictions, and those are ones that you can definitely look, because one of the things that we have all talked about, whether it's IAP or whether it's this committee, is how do we bring more teachers,
Mhm.
an electrician, a plumber, that,
Labor
Yeah.
force plus
you know,
young children.
right. And you're right, and I think I learned a lot
You
from this
learned a
whole
whole
thing in
lot.
terms of where the people who want housing are slotted in that particular set of circumstances. I mean, which are main housing type applicants versus those that are gonna look at, you know, something that's probably a little bit more expensive. What I've heard referred to as the missing middle, which is those that are above the main housing criteria, but you know, aren't making 200,000 a year. You look at the prices, I mean, somebody could be making $100,000 a year and still have a hard time paying a mortgage on some of the houses that are here. So in order to get people, you know, we have to have housing that kind of meets the need of the people who are or who would want to come here, and why would they want to come here? So, I mean, one of the people that is going to go into these houses happens to be an apprentice in a trade. Exactly what we want now, you know. Could he afford to go out and buy one of the houses that's on the market today? No. But
Maybe in the
in
future.
a couple of years, maybe he can.
They will get married and have children.
Right.
I have a process question.
Mhm.
So if we're thinking about the timing of when we want the survey to go out. And we're thinking about how we want to use the information that we get, both from folks who live on island as well as for folks who work here and are coming to the island on a regular basis. I'm trying to sort of work backwards. We have a couple of ideas we're going to talk about later in terms of policy proposals for the town on how to start setting aside revenue to support more investments in housing. When are we going to be making recommendations, and when might there be either select board things that are due, or I'm just thinking about what is our sort of goal in terms of making any policy recommendations to the town? And do we need to work backwards from there in terms of when we have survey responses?
I'll give you, I think you can do them. They're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but I think you go down separate paths. Because whatever, on a policy basis, we have to say, okay, we're gonna focus on these things. And from my, you know, small amount of research, none of them are easy. And so in order to get in front of the select board with recommendations per se, I think we have a ways to go to get there. So
I'm just thinking that the survey data may help us validate why we're making these proposals. And so we'll want some of that data to help us understand which policies might be the best fit for what we're trying to accomplish.
yeah, but again, I don't think they have to necessarily, you know, they can go down separate paths, but if they're both let's start today paths.
Absolutely. And so thinking about that, if we are going to make a proposal to the select board about a new source of revenue, is that something process wise? I don't know this. Is that something that needs to like be on the town meeting agenda, or is that something that the select board has the power to just decide?
That you may have to put it on a town meeting depending upon what it is. And I don't know that everything would have to go. But I don't think you'd go to a town meeting without getting an endorsement from the select board.
What we need is, and this is what I had a discussion with Shay about this last night. I want to put on the agenda of the select board a proposal to direct municipal funds to support affordable housing. Frankly, I just think that is amongst the highest priorities as a member of the select board we have. And so what we need is some sort of proposal, and Jennifer Slendy put together a proposal for the school that includes half of it is affordable housing. But, okay, here's what we need in order to do
Without,
and
but you want them to municipal to say, yes, we have to do this without, but then effectively endorse the research as to what it specifically is, or you're looking for.
I actually don't think this is all that complicated. I mean, I agree. We have a marketing issue. Are we gonna build tiny houses? Are we gonna build 3-bedroom units or whatever it is? I actually don't think that is. I think we need all of those things, but what we need is a proposal. A package proposal saying, okay. Our goal here is to build 12 new affordable housing units or whatever. I have no idea. I'm the new boy on the block. I have not participated in this.
Mhm.
And here's what it costs. Here's what needs to come from the municipal budget. Here's what we can raise from charitable contributions. As I understand it, IAP is primarily supported by charitable contributions at the moment.
At the moment,
The
yeah.
town
For the near
is not putting anything
foreseeable
into this.
future.
And what I'd like to do is move this into a collaborative effort like the health center and the up island garage and everything else, where we have, okay, 30% of this is gonna come from tax revenues and 50% of it is gonna come from contributions, and I'm volunteering to be a fundraiser to do that. And, we're gonna get grants from the state or something else. I just don't know enough about how to package that in a way that we can put this before the select board or before the town meeting and say, hey, guys, you wanna make a sustainable community here? You want a place that is gonna be here 10 years from now with a school that's vital, a ferry service that is sustainable, a community center that we need? Here's what you have to do.
I don't disagree with anything you said, but what I will say is, so, Mr. Burns actually had turned me on to a project that MCOG, which is the Mid-Coast Council of Governments, was working on, which is a short-term rental ordinance. So they did, but that was months in the making. Now, I've asked them to give me all their data so that we don't have to redo months worth of work, but that took them a while. Now, theoretically, I'm hoping that with all their work, that we don't have to do much work at all, but none of these things are, gonna be done in the next 30 days, I don't think.
Not 30 days,
Yeah.
but it does seem to be that we can, as somebody, Bernie Sanders used to say to me, complexify matters. We need to get a reasonable goal here on how to support this and not get hung up on whether it's 3 bedrooms or 1 bedroom or not.
Well, I do think though that the survey data is part of how we start to put that together. And so in my mind, I think the sooner we can get the survey out to both populations, the better.
Totally agree.
I think we should get it out and get responses as soon as we can. And then even if that means as a committee, we're not really able to dig into the data until after the holidays, I think having the data, there's the part of me that feels a lot of urgency about this and also frustration with just the slowness of the process that, is the normal governmental process.
I just spent 6 months trying to work on this
Parking lot.
freaking plan for the parking on Ferry Road. Boy, do I know about municipal bureaucracy, but I feel a little frustrated in terms of this. In that I feel like the interface between this committee and IAP and the select board needs to be.
Yeah, and potentially the school board as well.
Well, and I think you need to bring IESC into it too, so.
It's time, I'm sitting on all of these committees and I sit here and I just think it's time to.
Okay, so how about first a week lead for the Islandsboro survey, then a week later, we get it out.
Do we have a budget for printing?
No, I have no idea.
How much does it cost, Carrie, to have something go out to box holders?
I think if it's a town committee, it probably doesn't cost you anything.
Okay.
Really?
When we did
Uh,
the recreation ones, for the Head to the Beach Marathon, it was free. And that's through
Okay.
town committee as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So we'll want to do it in folks' boxes. So
Mhm.
make final edits on the survey this week and see if we can do it Thursdays, right? That's where you staple all the things together.
Well, it's already gone out for November,
So,
so you'd have to wait for the December mailing.
Can it be sent separate?
Or I thought you wanted to do a digital survey.
Both.
Well, I think we need both. We also learned of plenty of people who don't do internet things
Okay,
and are not comfortable using them.
um,
Can this go out on its own?
probably not. They only do the mailers once a month,
Hmm.
but it can be available to print, like I can put it on the town website that people could print from there. I could put it out through Constant Contact and people can print it from there.
But
so we
Yeah.
could send an email out with the link and then send them a link to a printable version that they.
Mhm.
Or could they come here and pick up to the
They
town
could come
office
here
and
and pick
pick
it
up?
up.
Okay. Okay.
again, I think it's also accompanied by a marketing effort. This is really important for you to respond. There's an awful lot of this stuff just gets,
Yeah, we can make a pitch. I'm happy to work with you, Susan, on the pitch language of
Okay,
how do we get people that actually respond to the survey?
okay, good. I'm not a pitch person.
great.
I don't have that
Or
skill.
maybe Peter, since you're really keen on the pitch, do you want to put together a pitch email and I'll work with you on it?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. I was gonna say, you know. When we get to the point where this 150 people are getting off the ferry, the 8 o'clock ferry. Who is there
I'll be there.
handing out this questionnaire? I
I'll
mean,
be there. We can have.
if I were one of these workers and thinking, I really hate the idea of having to get up and get on the ferry and walk to my truck and do this merely to have a job. It's a real pain in the ass.
Right, and help.
Raymond, who works at Boardman Cottage, said he would be happy to take loads of them, hand them out.
And-
Both in the morning and the evening. He would be
Right.
willing to do
So
that
if
if,
there's a distribution,
that's right. And then he could
Method that-
collect them.
right, okay.
Do you think
Right.
it would work as well to post some just to take on either side of the ferry as well as collection boxes that somebody could grab maybe at the end of a week as well in case we miss anybody?
Sure. I mean, we could do something at the Lighthouse, we could do something in the ferry office, I'm sure we could just have a box there or a slot.
Can we have for the town surveys, can those be put in a box the way the one about town's proposal, possibility of getting the lower price tickets?
Mhm.
So we could have that too, like people could also come and pick up copies. Or
Absolutely.
we're not allowed to just drive by people's houses and put something in the mailbox, right? That's illegal.
I happened to be in the post office one day when Hillary was lecturing somebody about doing that, so no. Do you know you broke the law?
Really.
Yeah, my concern is to. To get it out, so all the people who don't do the constant contact.
But that distribution is fairly sizable, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah, but you could also leave
There's
it,
many different ways.
I'm not-
Can I leave it on people's doorsteps?
I don't know that you couldn't unless they had a sign. that Said, don't do that. And I don't know that, I haven't seen no soliciting signs, and so I don't know.
you could have a stack of them at the library,
At the library, the stores,
the
I can
community
ask.
center.
No, that's a good, yeah, sure,
Okay,
okay.
all right.
So you guys will figure out the marketing language. And I'll work on, getting for both of these, the Islesboro one is it's shorter. But I'll work on the one to distribute. Distribute.
okay, I I'm completely available until the 17th of November. If Mr. Trump allows the air traffic controllers to get paid, I may leave for a week and a half.
I'm leaving on Monday for almost 10 days, but I can do something tomorrow.
Okay. I have a date at 9:30 tomorrow morning, 10:30, and then where are we supposed to bring our contributions to the food bank?
At both stores there, Diana.
Oh, good.
I have a box ready to go. All my
Okay.
unused tomato sauce.
And I'd like to take the next one out of order, because I'd like to get back to what Peter was proposing about the, going to the select board, since we just,
Mhm.
so are you looking, I just want to kind of get underneath a little bit of what you were talking about. You feel that we need to go in with a specific proposal of the kinds of things, whether it's bond money, it's
I don't even think the specific sources are important.
okay,
And I'm ignorant about how to do this, but Jennifer had this plan in which, you know, it was a plan for the school, but half of it was affordable housing and 20% of it, 30% of it came from the municipal budget, and 50 or 60% came from charitable contributions, something like that. I mean, I don't know exactly what is marketable. I know that there is a lot of sensitivity about everybody's taxes and we all, but
So
but
my recommendation would be that we do have a specific revenue proposal.
yeah,
And that we, based on the survey results, start to get a sense of like how much money do we want to try and allocate on an annual basis from the town budget for supporting housing production, whether that's, you know, we talked previously about how sometimes that could be, you know, the town helps cover some of like the cost for putting in the utilities, or, you know, there's different ways the town could work on that. But I think even just having any funding that we start to build up will be important. And then as different development opportunities become available, then we can sort of figure out, is this, you know, do we need more? Or is this enough? And what kinds of proposals are being put forward in terms of using it? And the town could have, similar to Maine Housing, we could say the town revenue is available for projects that meet these criteria. And for doing this kind of work to support housing development. And so I think even just getting a line item in the town, the annual budget, that is, this is the housing fund, I think would be a really important first step.
Mhm.
And I think to do that, we will need a proposal in terms of either we're saying, no, we just think this should be part of the town budget and it doesn't need a dedicated source of revenue. Or we should say, we think it should have a dedicated source of revenue, and these are our suggestions for what that revenue ought to be. I emailed back and forth with the Maine Municipal Association to find out if they are working on making any of those lovely revenue sources that we talked about last meeting legal, right? So since many of them have to be approved, or their state law has to be changed in order to be able to pursue them at the local level. They are out of town this week and will get back to me next week, so I can follow up with them in terms of if there are any potential law changes. But I also had a great conversation with the city of Sanford about,
Connecticut.
no, Sanford, Maine.
Oh,
Sanford, Maine has developed 800 units in the last few years.
really?
They have done a phenomenal job of increasing their housing supply. I want to say in my 800 units over the last 6 or 8 years.
Where is it?
It's in southern Maine, it's in York County. And they have done two different things. One, they had a very big problem in terms of the quality of their housing. They had a lot of falling down, run down, not up to code rental housing, a lot of slumlords and housing that was not safe and habitable for people to live in. So they created a rental registry and basically they started licensing their landlords. And they, by licensing those landlords, they use those fees to hire new code enforcement officers to go out and inspect housing and to have sort of a fee structure in order to bring buildings up to code. But what they all, and so that I don't think is something that we need to pursue. We don't have a large stock of, slumlords on Islesboro. But the other thing that they did was through this, they also created a vacancy license. So if your building is vacant for part of the year or just vacant, you pay a fee to the town. And so they were trying to solve a problem that was related to the slumlord housing, right? Where buildings were falling down and they needed to be able to either demolish them and build something new or go ahead and refurbish those. And so there was a cost to landlords of just having our building owners of having their building vacant. But they were able to use that licensing structure to get around the fact that the state prohibits municipalities from charging a vacancy tax. So we're not currently allowed to charge a fee or a tax just for being vacant. But we could potentially create a licensing structure that if you have a home on Islesboro that you are not using year round, but it is insulated, it is possible to use this home year round, you have to get a license. And so we could create some kind of recommendation that the town pursue a licensing of homes that are vacant first. We could set, what the parameters are in terms of what kinds of homes would fall to meet those criteria. But that is one potential option.
There is a town in Maine, and I'm trying to remember what it was, so. Alex, who used to be part of Island Institute, had brought it up that there is a town in Maine that is implementing a
vacancy tax?
Yeah.
Oh, and they haven't been taken to court?
No, I have,
Can we call it like not a tax? A vacancy required contribution.
well, I mean, and I've looked at up some of the thing, I mean, there are places that do it, they're not in Maine, but. And they're calling it, empty home taxes and actually in one town in California, actually, not only does it charge for a vacant home, but if you have a parcel of land that's not built on, they charge it for the vacant property. So I'm trying to get a hold of Alex to find out more about that, but and it was someplace down south, I mean, it was.
I think it's less of a problem to figure out how to create revenue to support this as an understanding that this is fundamental to the future of this sustainability of this. And I think we can get hung up on, I have a bunch of ideas for how to generate revenue and Kate told me everything I was proposing was illegal. I just think you can get lost in the weeds here.
Well, that's a question. Do you want to have a conversation with the select board about whether or not they would be mostly interested in just dedicating existing revenue to this? Or do they need more revenue in order to fund the housing fund?
I was chewed out by our chief financial officer here for. No,
Brian?
Brian.
Well, he
Public meeting we had because he claimed that this trying to generate revenue off parking on Ferry Road was acting like we're a corporation and we're not or something. I didn't even understand what he was talking about. My sense is, okay, look. If we had a clear understanding of the goal, the dream goal for affordable housing on Islesboro, X number of these units, and it was gonna cost $8 million to do this. And we were able to go back and say to the select board, the town budget has to provide $2.6 million of this. I think that's the beginning, and how to pay for that is not
Well, that's the next step.
totally the problem that we have.
So, all right, so if I'm reading your proposal, I mean,
Yes.
and is that what you're really looking for is, the town. Right, total, which is basically select board and the town staff,
Mhm.
to be in agreement that it is a public-private problem,
Yes,
and therefore it needs to be a public-private solution.
exactly.
And so if they say, if they concur and they agree with it, I mean, you can always put down, look, there are ways to do it. We're not trying to sell you the way. What we're trying to say is, I'm not gonna go to 6 months worth of work to try to find $3 million if you're not gonna be behind it.
Yeah.
And
I
that,
thought, if we were able to generate $20,000 or $30,000 from parking fees on Ferry Road, which is virtually no cost to anybody.
Mhm.
The people who are gonna pay for this are people who are employing contractors to build expensive additions, construction on here. And they're not even gonna notice that they're paying an extra $400 for 3 months of park. And if we produced that amount and bonded that at 5% or 7% or something, we could generate, $500,000 right there, and it wasn't gonna cost anybody anything. Well, okay, that's just one stupid, naive proposal. I don't think that it's necessary that we solve the problem of where all the revenue comes from in order we get a understanding that this is a community problem. It's not just for wealthy people to kick in millions of dollars to build affordable housing. It's the future of the school, the future of the community is that that's what we're talking about here.
so in order to do that, I do think we need responses from a survey, so you can
Sounds good.
quantify what the requirement is.
Right.
So somebody, you don't wanna go and say, well, we have this housing problem, what is it? Well, I don't know, I can just tell you what people tell me. So if we can quantify it,
That's good.
then you bring it to them and say this, and now the solution is public-private.
Yes,
And but we want everybody to agree that that is the solution.
right.
And then, we'll say, give us X period of time to provide you with a more refined solution to the problem, which
There
would
you
be revenue generation
I think
opportunities.
the survey is great. I think we need to
Okay.
absolutely establish in everybody's mind, there's not only a demand, but there's a specific demand here and that.
Board comes as to when we can get data from the survey.
Sounds like it's February.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't see why we can't get this survey out.
Oh, no, but then you gotta not
But,
get it out, you gotta get it back,
But you wanted to go to the island residents before we went.
At least a week lead,
Okay,
yeah.
so,
So I
I
can,
mean, it's after the first of the year before. we-
So- is the one for the town acceptable in this wet version? Because I can print up at home this survey and get it out on my own to the library, to the community center, to the stores.
Let's
And
figure out
then
who we're returning it to.
I think it would go to a Dropbox here. That's set up.
Yeah, like the ferry survey. they're
Yeah.
doing, Yeah.
Yeah, which I
Okay.
see it's starting to fill up.
So return to town office?
Yeah,
Or when you gonna do them online,
but it will also be online, but I can get these paper ones out
okay?
tomorrow.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a goal of how many respondents we wanna have? I wonder, like, we could do like a raffle prize of like
Leftover Halloween candy.
something of some kind of, I don't know. Lindsay, you're really good at
Free
creating
coffee.
celebrations. Any ideas for how we would encourage people to respond?
I mean, maybe we could throw in a couple ferry tickets.
Ooh,
I like that. Yeah.
Like a round trip for, I don't know, driver, adult, maybe a driver, two adults or something.
Mm-hmm.
and you're in the drawing to win for that. It'd be more appealing if it was peak season, but I would still be inclined to get a free ride to the mainland.
Yeah, and since the survey is anonymous, we'd have to have something that's, accompanies the Dropbox of being like, this is.
Well, we're asking if they're willing to provide the name and email.
And so you can put the prize on there and, if you want a prize, fill out here.
Yeah.
And yeah, because if somebody comes in anonymously, then they've, gone the
So
prize.
what-
But I think that's a great
How
idea.
do we need to get, like, will the town just buy?
I'll buy it.
I'll buy it.
Okay, so,
I just made a contribution to IAP
oh, thank you.
in my son who runs this. It's a little behind the curve, but you're gonna get a contribution.
Fantastic.
But, this is chump change we're talking about here.
We need chump change.
Five
We're on a strain.
5 tickets for 4 people on the ferry.
So is that the so what are we gonna offer?
Oh, we could offer like four vehicle tickets.
4-car
Or
driver
vehicle and driver
tickets?
And
tickets,
4 passenger.
Right,
and then we could decide if we're giving, maybe we give them out to, there's more than one winner or not.
So wait, 4-car and drivers. Okay,
And 4 passengers.
And 4 passenger. And so each prize is a vehicle, driver and a passenger. So
okay.
you have 4 prizes. And you say there's 4.
Okay,
4
so there'll be
prizes.
4 different prizes, 4 prizes, 1 car, 1 driver, 1 passenger.
right.
Dogs are free.
Lindsay, you were.
To why some people aren't buying necessarily if they live on island, if their income isn't super high.
So some of this, all of this will be, they have to give their name and email or phone number, if they want to get the prize. But, so age,
Yeah, like age range.
Yeah,
okay. So I can work on this tomorrow.
And when are we
And
gonna-
email it.
we're gonna talk about how to market this?
We'll talk about the language we use to email it out to people in the town
Okay.
newsletter.
But for the town one, the town survey, I'll make these changes. I'll email it to each of you. You get back to me what you like or don't like. I'll print them up and get them out, and then there'll be a version to go through, electronic versions.
Great.
Okay,
I like the incentive.
yeah, it's a good
You'll have to
incentive.
have people put their names on it then if you're
Right.
giving out
Yes.
prizes.
No, they have to,
And people might be reluctant to share their income if their name is on it, just a thought.
we're not asking for income.
Okay.
We're asking for income ranges,
Income
right?
range, okay.
I don't think we should ask that. I think we can ask about children. I think we can ask about age range, but I don't think on something public like this, we can get their name and ask what their income is.
Do you think that's different than asking about what they currently pay for their housing?
That's different, yes.
Yeah,
So I think that it was hard enough getting that from people with private, for IAP to get the information from people. And to get a clear story about it. I think that would really turn me off. For me to fill this out, if this is going to the town, a lot of people are gonna see it, none of people's business. I think about the rent and how affordable that is fair game.
Mhm.
if you ask the question as to what do you feel is affordable?
Yeah.
You'll get a reply and.
Mhm.
yeah. Do you wanna make that
and
change on
nobody's
both sides?
disclosing anything.
Instead of high or low, ask what is affordable on the town side too?
Mhm. I'm gonna first work on the town one. And get your feedback and then start getting that out, and then we can refine.
I might say what is reasonable / affordable. All right, and because
I think you're asking people to lowball their estimate.
What is the that's true, yeah. Well, that's why asking, do you think this cost is too high or not? I mean,
I think
there's no way to get the actual answer.
the biggest question is what is inhibiting you from applying for affordable housing, or if you're off island coming to Islesboro, is you imagine the price to be too high?
I'm just, not on the affordability question, but in the second paragraph, you say, this survey seeks more information about those of us living on Islesboro who lack good year-round, long-term and affordable housing, and would not mind, or would even really like living in a newly built or renovated older, small house, ranging from a studio up to 3-bedroom. Are we asking people, do we need to say, if you feel that you would be interested in this kind of housing, do we need to say that, like, in terms of like who we're targeting for this survey on island? Or are we saying we want everybody to respond?
Well, you see, that's originally the idea was to go for the possibility of low cost to
Right.
build and site. And so this really is the original purpose was to see who would be interested in this kind of housing.
Okay, should we add a question of, would you be interested in this kind of housing? If so, please take the survey,
We could,
just to be clear about who we're,
okay, so say that again.
would you be interested in?
Mhm.
this
And then
kind of
maybe,
housing? If so, how many bedrooms?
okay, and then, you can also ask, I mean, if we want, we could also have a question. Well, I mean, no, this is really the purpose for like affordable housing. I mean, it can't be big. Just. And there's. I mean. I won't weigh in on my views about my house is too big. I wanted only 1,000 square feet. So I have another 400 upstairs, but family and friends, but I still got it.
Well, I mean, part of it is
What people want.
and what's available. I
Right,
mean, if you look at what's available on the island today, it ranges,
yeah,
and there's nothing out there really that, doesn't require some work. So,
yes,
you know,
yeah,
and IAP, somebody offered IAP a house, that was. I guess it had recently had an offer that fell through, but it was like $220,000, and you go, whoa, that's great, but then you look at the house and it needs another $220,000 worth. To make it
the
happen.
one at the corner of Ferry Road and,
No, it's one that's actually down
okay.
towards Dark Harbor, but the one at the end of Ferry Road is under $300,000, but it needs, from what I understand, well over $100,000 worth of,
It's a
Okay.
tiny lot, you don't own, you know,
so. I mean,
when someone got kicked out of that house, they couldn't be renters anymore, if they're renting it for over 20 years. Sorry, I did that to feel very strongly about that situation,
okay.
but that was gratuitous for me to bring it up, sorry. Erase that from the minutes. Whatever,
So anyway, I mean, so. It
Okay.
is, I guess it is important. And it's, and I do think that at some point we have. We do have to look at the affordability as a big.
Yeah.
As a big deal.
yeah,
Because, I mean, the interesting part is even those people that. Were determined that really couldn't qualify,
yeah,
for, the low cost housing, every one of them lived on the island. So, and they're living in, some of them
some
are
of them are
living
little
in
dumps.
12 months a year in a 3-season house and,
Mm. Right.
others packed, how many can you fit per square foot?
Do you want me to add in your apartment and small house survey? We can also see who would be interested in an apartment, which would mean like an apartment
Mhm.
block.
We could also just say housing survey. And then leave your verbiage below in terms of describing. Newly built or renovated older small house ranging from studio apartment up to 3 bedrooms.
Okay,
And we get that, we get the data back. We crunch the data, and then what I would say to get in front of the select board is look to as early in February as you can.
well, it's to have the data, okay,
To have the data and then to put together something that you would be comfortable bringing in to the select board.
okay,
And from that, in theory, if the select board says, yes, we're behind it, then there's a whole set of things that have to be done in order to fill in the blanks as to how you get there.
Mhm.
But I think Peter's right, getting
okay.
the town to say, yes, we agree, and we do want to be part of the solution is very important.
Mhm.
So then we would use our January meeting to discuss the data and review what options we want to present to the select board in
Right.
February.
Does that work?
So again, I'll try to get this for the town out tomorrow to everyone on the committee. And then I can furnish you the one for off island.
And I think in that, as you turn to that, as soon as we can, again, because it having all that data to go back to.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much on break now,
Okay.
IAP, there's plenty to do, but
Yeah,
we'll turn to the bylaws and that maybe in the new year.
all right.
Peter, do you want to send me a draft in terms of a pitch email? Then I'll take a look.
Again, how do I have?
Yeah, when it,
I think so.
When
And my
it's
email
ready,
the email with all the
final version here,
Good.
email it to me and I'll post it.
Okay, and then.
Michael, do you have anything else from the region,
Well,
from the
town
housing meeting that you wanted to do?
Submitted.
No, I went this morning and it really was,
Technically not in the public
Island
area, but
Institute's
in the
housing
office, so people aren't.
coalition has been,
You have to ask Tina.
I think that would, yeah,
dead in the water, shall we say, for the last 6 months, so. The agreement that came out of today's meeting was that at least. For the next 6 months, that group will meet once a month. And there were proposals as to what kind of information, and one of it, the things that came out was. How if you've got a coalition of all people who are kind of in the same arena, why are we all trying to solve this problem by ourselves? What do we do to bring it all together?
Yeah.
And so, even to the point that it was suggested that, doing any kind of, state housing grant application, et cetera, should be an island application versus an individual town application. That takes towns as well as everything to kind of agree, but, I mean, it does bring to life, I think, a stronger voice as to having all of that happen. So I would hope that I will get more,
This is to get a pitch to get more public funds.
right,
I have a
Yeah.
open meeting transparency question. If I have a conversation with Maine Municipal Association about what housing policies they are working on can I email those notes to everybody on the committee, or is that considered sort of?
my understanding is if you have the conversation alone, you're fine. If you tell us what you want, you should be fine, I think.
Can I share the notes like before we meet next? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's when you have
We just can't have 3 of us then go discuss my notes and come up with something.
sitting in this room, yeah, and then. Unless you let everybody in the world know you're doing it, and if they want to show up, they can come and sit at the peanut gallery.
We're gonna try and make this pretty brief.
Oh, totally. Short and sweet.
Okay, then,
okay, good,
next meeting,
How soon do you want to meet?
I. Well, given that you know, we've got the holidays coming up, that I would say as early in January as we can.
Okay, I don't have a January calendar,
Okay,
but you could aim for probably the first or the second Thursday in January. I don't think
It
that
has to
should
be the 8th. The first is,
so,
the first is the first.
Oh, okay, then we don't want that.
right, so it'll be,
The
yeah,
8th of January.
8th of January.
January.
So why don't you be the first one then,
Mm,
Carrie, to put up
I-
the calendar with us in there? You have,
I likely have a conflict that night. But I don't on Wednesday, the 7th.
Okay, Wednesday, the 7th,
That could be a select board meeting, so I would
Oh.
stick with Thursday, then maybe the following Thursday. But
or Tuesday, the 6th.
for me, the 6th, the 8th, the 13th, the 15th.
It doesn't matter to me, but there's other committees
And the
that
select
regularly.
board meets at, 6 o'clock and just have this.
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, last.
too much for me, that's too much for me, I
Yeah.
can't do
Okay.
that many meetings,
All right.
after that.
Tell me about it.
Okay. If you would try to find a calendar
Yeah,
Okay, so you'll let us know what will work.
and.
I know that the Energy Committee has the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay, so this was the first Tuesday, so maybe the
That could
6th
work.
would have been the
It could.
first Tuesday. But again, I think it's important so we know what we have to do in
Okay.
order to be ready to
Okay,
try to get on the select board calendar for February.
All righty,
All right, thank you.
Everybody,
onward and
no.
upward.
need a
We need-
motion to adjourn?
Need a motion.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor? Okay.
Aye.
I.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
6:16.
Okay.
So we're just gonna try and expand this.
Yeah.
Be even more positive.
And just, yeah, please respond to this housing survey. We really need your input.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I think. Yeah, Peter, I think we're not expanding that. That's what, Susan is doing. She's changing that language. We're coming up with the email to send to everybody.
And the email is gonna say what?
The housing committee is conducting a survey to try and understand the unmet housing needs on Islesboro. It's super helpful. Would you be interested